Now we have the spew. And the spew is a dynamic where a team with the best intentions has started documenting almost too much information, and by doing that has created a really loud operating space where there's so many documents, there's so much content, there's so much information that it's really difficult to know how to act and where to find what you need to find. And the spew has a couple of symptoms, I think. It means that as an individual that you might waste a lot of time digging for information, and that when you actually ask someone for that information, sort of hearkening back to the availability trap, you get a list of links. Sometimes it's someone has spent a lot of time building the perfect 15-page document to outline a whole area of your work. You've asked one particular question and they say, I think it's somewhere on page 5 or maybe page 9. And you end up having to dig and dig and dig. And it just makes things really inefficient and can be very frustrating because when we seek information, it's much more challenging than when we create information. For your team, it can mean that good ideas or important action items get lost in documents. It can mean that the thing you really need to know is next to a lot of things that you don't need to know, which makes it much harder to sort of find the signal in the noise. And then people just stop reading documents. So you end up in this ironic spot where your organization may do a great job comprehensively documenting everything, but you still fall into the availability trap because finding the information within that documentation has become too challenging and people kind of shut off. So that's what the problem looks and feels like. And to unlock it, you really need to reset the relationship between documentation and communication. So recognizing that documentation is a form of communication, and it's not about capturing every piece of information in your organization. It's about making it easier for people to asynchronously access information that they need, which means it needs to be based on their actual needs and based on what they're actually seeking rather than just what you want to document. So I'd like to encourage you to ask yourself, how do I know if I'm documenting what people need to know rather than everything I want to say? And you could look at the last piece of documentation you created and think about it from the perspective of someone that is accessing that document without any context. So they open that document, they're looking maybe for a piece of information. They don't know who wrote this document. They don't know under what conditions it was made. Is it easy for them to navigate it? Is it easy for them to sort of see the signal through the noise? If not, then maybe thinking a bit more about how you can reframe your documentation as a form of communication, which means getting more specific about what it is that we're communicating.